Because Pete Hegseth is dedicated to taking wokeism out of the military, which if you love the U.S. military and you love this country, you have to.
Any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever, that was involved in any of the DEI woke, it's got to go.
Donald Trump's 2024 return to power has led to a series of strategic moves that are setting the political arena ablaze. One cabinet selection in particular is sending the woke mob into a state of pure, unrestrained panic. This incoming Secretary of Defense represents everything that progressive elitists fear most. Watch as we take you through the story of Pete Hegseth and his clash with the woke community. While unfamiliar to many, Pete Hegseth has sent the woke mob raging for multiple reasons. However, to military veterans, his name is not one they're likely to forget. As an Army vet himself, Hegseth served the United States and was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, earning 2 Bronze Stars for his leadership. Beyond his military service, Hegseth was a prominent conservative commentator, best known for his work on Fox News as a co-host for shows like Fox and Friends Weekend.
The DEI thing is not just what you heard Mark Milley say talking about white rage at a congressional testimony. It's actually being pushed down into units as part of how they...
Moreover, he's also an outspoken critic of what he perceives as the leftward drift of American institutions, including the military. Hegseth's resume includes leading the conservative group Concerned Veterans for America, which is focused on reforming the Department of Veterans Affairs. His outspoken advocacy for traditional military values and his disdain for progressive policies have made him a revolutionary figure, beloved by many on the right side and despised by the left. Now, as Trump's Secretary of Defense nominee, Hegseth will surely shake up the Pentagon in ways that will send the media, progressive policymakers, and some of the military's top brass into a panic. The media's visceral outrage toward Hegseth's appointment is rooted in his unrelenting and scathing criticism of their own industry. He has long been a critic of how the mainstream media reports on the military. He's called out major outlets for prioritizing narratives that fit a liberal agenda over accurate, balanced reporting. Hegseth was a vocal critic of how outlets like CNN and the New York Times framed the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Because the New York Times has been rooting oftentimes for America to fail. And I mean that.
His position at the helm of the Department of Defense could mean increased scrutiny of media access and reporting. Journalists who are accustomed to cozy relationships with Pentagon insiders might find themselves held accountable for misinformation. Moreover, the left has a love-hate relationship with Fox News, but it's no secret that they especially loathe its most prominent conservative personalities. Hegseth's connection to the network makes him a symbol of everything the mainstream media opposes.
To really are when you look at transition from the media into the Obama administration, how many executives and hosts and others took senior positions. It appears it's a two-way street back and forth.
His bold style and willingness to call out liberal media bias guarantee that outlets like CNN and the Washington Post will criticize his every move as Secretary of Defense. And it won't be the first time that Hegseth has been criticized for his bold takes. On May 6th, Hegseth's stance on a Pentagon initiative created in 2021 was highlighted with grave words. When Bishop Garrison was appointed to advise as Secretary of Defense, Hegseth opposed it with every fiber in his body. He described Garrison's efforts as a purge of the Defense Department led by a new and now powerful radical leftist, a 1619 Project activist, a hardcore social justice Democrat, a man who believes all Trump supporters are racist and extremists. The next day, his words were all over the media, and everyone took a stand against Hegseth.
What if I told you, instead, a far more sinister and dangerous effort is underway right under our noses right now at the Pentagon? This is worse. This is way worse. This, my friends, is a purge. A purge of the Defense Department, led by a new and now powerful radical leftist, a 1619 Project activist, a hardcore social justice Democrat, a man who believes all Trump supporters are racists and extremists. And what must we do to racists? We must define them, and then we must purge them.
Hegseth's hawkish stance on national defense is another point of contention. He has publicly supported more aggressive military strategies, arguing that America's adversaries don't respect weakness. His approach could mean ramping up the U.S. military presence abroad, investing heavily in warfighting capabilities, and taking a hardline stance against nations like China, Russia, and Iran. For media outlets that champion a more restrained U.S. foreign policy, this is cause for an alarm.
They're committed to, and this White House is completely beholden to. We're calling the Taliban and asking permission.
While the media's outrage is predictable, the reaction within the Pentagon is even more telling. Hegseth's appointment is seen as a direct challenge to the progressive policies that have taken root in the military over the past decade. Hegseth has also taken issue with media coverage that praises progressive changes in military policy, such as integrating DEI initiatives and gender ideology. He argues that outlets like the Washington Post present these woke developments as universally positive without examining their impact on combat readiness or troop morale. Diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives have become a significant focus of the military, but Hegseth has been an outspoken critic of these programs. He argues that they detract from the military's core mission, defending the nation. Hegseth views DEI as a form of social engineering that prioritizes identity politics over merit and readiness.
Any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever, that was involved in any of the DEI woke it's got to go.
The incorporation of gender ideology into military training and policies have been a flashpoint in recent years. Hegseth has criticized what he sees as the politicization of the armed forces, particularly efforts to accommodate transgender service members and integrate gender theory into training programs. His leadership could signal a return to traditional standards, sparking fierce opposition from progressive activists. Hegseth has made no secret of his disdain for political correctness. He believes the military should focus on warfighting, not appeasing cultural trends. As Secretary of Defense, he could scale back or eliminate these initiatives, which would be a transformative shift in military culture.
Because Pete Hegseth is dedicated to taking wokeism out of the military, which if you love the U.S. military and you love this country, you have.
Hegseth has openly criticized military leaders who have become too entangled in politics. As Secretary of Defense, Hegseth will likely push for accountability, potentially removing or sidelining officers who have embraced progressive policies at the expense of combat effectiveness. Under Hegseth, the emphasis will likely shift from social initiatives to combat readiness. He has frequently argued that the military's primary responsibility is to prepare for and win wars. Programs and policies that don't contribute to that mission could face the chopping block. This shift could feel like a direct rebuke for senior officers who have championed progressive changes.
But they want their way regardless of how our system works. This ruling was an absolute validation of our constitutional republic.
One of the most controversial moves Hegseth could make is purging the military of officers appointed under progressive administrations. Critics could undoubtedly label this a witch hunt, but Hegseth has argued that a politically neutral military is essential to its effectiveness. Such a shakeup could lead to widespread resignations and retirements among senior leadership.
And as far as recruiting, to hire the guy that, did Top Gun Maverick and create some real ads that motivate people to want to serve.
Also, Hegseth's vision for the military includes a return to what he calls traditional military values: discipline, honor, and a focus on the mission. This stands in stark contrast to the current emphasis on inclusivity and cultural sensitivity. Moreover, Hegseth has clearly retaliated against the phrase, "Our diversity is our strength."
The dumbest phrase on planet Earth in the military is "our diversity is our strength."
While Hegseth does not oppose women serving in the armed forces overall, he has expressed concerns about lowering physical standards or altering combat readiness to accommodate gender diversity. He has argued that these policies prioritize political correctness over the military's primary mission of winning wars. Hegseth has pointed to studies showing that mixed-gender units may face challenges in combat effectiveness, particularly in physically demanding roles. He believes that combat positions should be assigned based solely on merit and capability, not as a means to advance social or political goals. Hegseth has also warned against the broader cultural impact of such policies, suggesting they can weaken unit cohesion and create distractions in high-stress environments.
We should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated.
For Hegseth, this issue is less about excluding women and more about maintaining the military, which is focused on readiness and effectiveness. His stance has drawn criticism from advocates for gender equality, but he remains steadfast in his belief that the armed forces should prioritize mission success above all else. In response to his perspective, multiple media channels and critics have spoken against Hegseth's ideologies. Duckworth, who is a former National Guard member, told CNN that Hegseth was just out of touch with the nature of modern warfare and implies that he's trying to keep women behind some sort of imaginary line.
I would ask him, where do you think I lost my legs? In a bar fight? I'm pretty sure I was in combat.
While some think Hegseth represents a chance to course correct, the woke mob resist him fiercely. They argue that Hegseth's policies are regressive, discriminatory, and out of touch with modern society. Regardless of the woke mob's objections, America's military is on the brink of a major transformation. Donald Trump's nomination of Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense is a bold move for the media and progressive military leaders. Hegseth represents a direct challenge. His unapologetic stance on issues like DEI, gender ideology, and political correctness ensures that his tenure will be anything but boring. The question now is whether Hegseth's vision can survive the inevitable pushback. Woke culture likely won't go down without a fight, but neither is Pete Hegseth. The time for transformation has arrived. Get a similar look at the woke backlash to Trump's recent pick for Director of National Intelligence in our last video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more.